Hey guys, hope you're all doing very well. It's Wave 618 here, and we are going to do an update video on Bitcoin. So it's been approximately 6 months since the last video, a very long time indeed. So need to fill in the gaps a little bit, explain what's been happening. I mean, I've been doing a weekly video over on Cryptology over on my group, but I do want to fill in what's been happening over on YouTube here also, where for the last 6 months we've not really discussed things. So we're going to look through the bigger picture here for Bitcoin, basically the upside target that we're looking at. We're going to talk about the invalidation level for the move, and we're going to talk about the process in which we expect it to go up here. Ultimately, very, very bullish indeed. Yes, we've had some volatility recently, in particular today. We'll go into that in detail also. We're going to look at the lower time frames, okay? But first thing I want to address, I've been getting so many requests for updates, but those people asking for the updates, I don't know if they're aware or not, but my Cryptology group is free for the first month. If you look at the discount links within the description to each video that I do, you'll see Cryptology first month completely free, and you get my weekly videos. I cover Bitcoin in depth, I cover Ethereum in depth, and then I cover my crypto asset of greatest interest in depth also, which at this moment is Doge. As well as covering the US indices, which are hugely important. So that's all over at wave618.com. This is Cryptology is the name of the group, and basically I've been doing this for 6 years now. So as you can see, this is just recently weekly videos. But if we go all the way back, as I say, 6-year history here, you can see all the way going to the last block here. This is for 2019 through to 2020. So been doing it a very long time. So I'm struggling to believe that people aren't aware of the group. As I say, first month is completely free, but it's there if you're interested. Now is a wonderful time to get involved because, as I say, we're probably going to see some lucrative moves the way things are shaping up. But I'll dwell on that in this video, showing how things are shaping up to be very bullish indeed. Okay, so as I say, what we're going to first do is look at the bigger macroscopic outlook. We're going to zoom out here on the weekly time frame. We're on the log scale. This is the Bitcoin index chart, and it's got lots and lots of data behind it, hence the choice of this chart. Now, here on the log scale, everything's all going to look very skewed, okay? That's what the log scale does. Ultimately, the linear scale, the wave count will look a little more obvious, okay? So this is our major wave 1, 2, 3. Here is where people maybe get a little bit confused with a symmetrical triangle or converging triangle here. And then the ending diagonal fifth wave is complex also, okay? So the first bit, just to justify it in the linear chart, so we can just do this, and there's no doubt here at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a very clear initial wave 1, very clear wave 2 corrective move here. The wave 3, there's no real doubt about it. And then it's just what happens here. You will get various counts, okay? I've studied it many, many times, and I'm very happy with my assessment determining this as a symmetrical triangle. So we've got an A, B, C, D, and the E is very truncated here, okay? After that wave 4 finish, we enter a terminal diagonal, which is huge in itself, okay? So we're going up in a terminal diagonal. Each subwave is made up of 3 waves. So it's our first 3 up, we're at a second 3, and then we're working on our third 3. So we're working on the third wave of our terminal diagonal. So ultimately we're looking at let's take off the magnet mode. So 1, 2, 3, then we expect a very sizable retracement 4 and 5 to follow, okay? Those aren't specific targets, okay? What I'm demonstrating here, sorry, the 3 has nowhere near finished. I should bring it all the way up here. Yeah, the 4 and then 5th will follow, okay? As I say, 4th and 5th are nowhere near our targets. In fact, the 3rd isn't even on point either. Just trying to demonstrate here that we're making an ending diagonal, and as we continue this really exaggerated move, these exponential moves, the price is just going to do some pretty crazy things. So that's essentially the count. Yeah, ending diagonal. With that ending diagonal since March 2020 that we had through COVID is the same ending diagonal that we have on the Dow Jones playing out as well, by the way. So it's not kind of drawn out of nowhere, all the way starting back here, 2020, that's where the move starts. Anyway, enough said on the larger Elliott wave count. Now I want to get back on the log scale. So as I say, major wave 1, 2, 3, 4, ending diagonal. So this is where it gets interesting, because basically what we're looking at here is this ending diagonal where we've had our first wave, we've had our second wave, and we're working on our third wave. Okay, so that's all I am interested in right now, one wave at a time. Okay, so I don't care about the fourth and the fifth wave. First, we're just concentrating on this third wave, where it's going to end. Okay, so we've got a few reasons for our target, which as you can see I've labeled here around 230k. So let's explain it. So first of all, you will often see with these ending diagonals, if you just connect the highs of the previous major swings on the chart, that's often a pretty rough estimate as to where you can expect price to go. So that's one place of confluence, just connecting the highs here. As you can see, we get this line that comes close to that 230k mark come the end of the year, okay, the end of 2025. But more importantly, I would say, is the way this third leg is playing out. So as I say, it's going to be three waves in itself. So we've got it as a WXY. Okay, so the W, done, X, done. And the Y, we've had an initial leg, we've had a correction, and we're on our terminal leg now of that WXY. Okay, so basically what we can often do is just extend the wave W from the bottom of X to determine where Y will finish, and a one-to-one relationship is a very common place to find price terminating. So as you can see, around 230k. So very nice relationship there, one-to-one relationship between the W and Y. We've got the line connecting the previous major highs on the log scale, and then also we've got the upper median line of this pitchfork. Okay, lots and lots of confluence around this point. As I say, I do believe the end of this year, November, December, that kind of time frame is where we can expect price to maybe start reversing. Okay, so it's around that point that I expect this pretty strong move to materialize. Okay, so that's the major play, that's the upside target. Invalidation is very simple. We don't want to see price, because as I say, this pitchfork is really key now. So it's the first pivot, second and third on a log scale. As I say, it's just marking out the W wave. Beginning of W, end of X is where our three pivots are. It's a modified shift, and as you can see, a very nice tag of the lower median line. And yeah, we're basically targeting this upper median line here. So invalidation is, it wouldn't signify the end of the trend, but I do not want to see price come beneath this lower median line. That's my invalidation line. Okay, simple as that. That's where I would get out of any crypto position that I'm in. But technically, yes, you could come down to this lower warning line before saying the trend is truly broken. But as far as I'm concerned, micromanaging the trade, I do not want to see price come beneath this lower median line. Okay, so that's the macro outlook right there. I do want to just fill in the gaps a little bit. Since my last video, I think, as I say, it was around 6 months ago. So we had this kind of turbulence to the downside. As I say, I was updating weekly in the group as to where I thought we would find support. Ultimately, we managed to call it where the low median line caught the price action, but also the key thing that told us that we were going to get support. Obviously, it was around this time in April where we had the big scares about tariffs. That's what really sent the US indices down. And there was one thing on the US indices chart, that's NASDAQ, S&P, and the Dow Jones, that was too big to ignore. And so if we just pull it up, NASDAQ first of all, okay? So NASDAQ, I want you to just look at the very simple fibs, but confluence across all three major US indices. So we're on the log scale here. If you just put a Fibonacci retracement tool from the low through to the high, and just look where we retrace. Now this is the log scale, it's the linear scale that I'm interested in. So let's go to linear, 50%. Okay. Now whilst we're on linear, let's just pull up the S&P 500. Where did we retrace? Major low, major high, just about shy of 50%. I'm happy to call that a 50% retracement right there. Okay, that's a little bit strange in itself. Both markets hitting the 50% fib retracement to the T pretty much at the same second. And then if you just pull up the Dow Jones, we actually get the same play. Major low, major high, 50% retracement. So that in itself was way too coincidental to ignore. Okay, that in itself, you could make a trade just off that fact alone. But then there was even more confluence. If we come back to Bitcoin, get back on the log scale, and you all know the significance, well, you all know if you've been following my videos, the significance of the Camarilla pivots. I want to go on the monthly time frame, take off everything else. Let's zoom right in. And basically, in that month of April, what did we do? We hit this S3 level to the T. Yeah. So not only did we get all the US indices retracing 50% off of that big scare with the US tariffs, but yeah, Bitcoin also hit a wonderful level of support, the S3 here on the monthly time frame. We see it time and time again. Looking at these, especially on the monthly time frame, these Camarilla pivots, hugely significant. I've gone into it in a lot of detail. It deserves a video in itself. I'm not going to go into all the past support and resistance levels of the Camarilla pivots, but hugely influential. You can just see last year how significant these levels were. We never put a monthly candle beneath the R4 that in the last year, 2024, going into the US election. And now we've just tested the S3 wonderfully, and now we've got every reason to absolutely fly to the upside once more. Okay, so that's what I wanted to just demonstrate, fill in the gaps, why we could anticipate support all the way down in April. And basically, as I say, it was the US tariff scare, and since then we all know that those tariff reports have largely been used as a bargaining chip. Okay, so Trump obviously knew what was going to happen with tariffs, whether he was going to keep them in place or not, but ultimately it was used as a hard way to negotiate, and arguably may have worked very well for the US. As a result, US indices all at all-time highs right now, and Bitcoin also looking pretty solid. You can see the upward trend. We're just going sideways now in what can only be described as a bull flag, getting ready for the next big move to the upside. And with that said, on the subject of tariffs, obviously huge week that we've had. The most important news this week has been on Sunday, the EU and the US made a trade deal. Okay, it was absolutely huge. So who cares about the Fed rate decision today? The fact that they held rates and everyone was thinking they might have lowered rates. Who cares? Okay, ideally, yes, for the markets at least, they may have lowered rates and allowed the markets to rally. We didn't get that. It sent the markets down. But the markets still know we're very, very bullish, because the key thing that happened this week was not the Fed rate decision. It was the EU/US trade deal that was made. If that wasn't made, if there was some huge tariff slapped on the EU, that could have sent the markets down. We all know that wasn't going to happen because Trump doesn't want to see his markets crash. So, yeah, but it was confirmed ultimately. That was the key deal right there. Now we're getting any kind of bullish piece of news, like Meta releasing its earnings in the last half hour or so, looking very bullish indeed, beating expectations. Anything like that now is just going to send the markets higher and higher. Okay, I believe, is it Microsoft? I don't know if they've released their data. I'm not going to check right now, but and then it's going to be Apple tomorrow. So we've got important earnings on the near horizon. And video will be later in the month of August. But yeah, things looking incredibly bullish indeed. So if we look on the lower time frames now, are we going to shoot up right away? Are we going to make another leg down beneath this low? Possibly. As I say, I'm not that bothered. My invalidation is way beneath all of this. So if we look on the major pitchfork, the lower median line is my invalidation, all the way down at around 100k. If we come beneath 100k, I'd be concerned. We've got so much wiggle room here for price to come down further. So I'm just looking at this here on the 4 hourly time frame. and you can argue we've come down in a corrective manner here. We've followed a modified shift pitchfork. All the 4 hourly candles are above the lower median line here, looking pretty solid. Nice bounce, big wick to the downside. Could it maybe make another leg down? Possibly. Would I trade a move down? Certainly not. As I say, this is a bull market. But could it come down? Possibly, as I say. But I'm of the impression that when I look at US indices, I'm not going to go into them in this video, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P, they all look like they've probably corrected enough, potentially completed their corrections. So I don't think really Bitcoin really needs to make another leg down. Okay. On top of that, we've had the crypto reports. Obviously, any kind of regulations potentially opens the door for huge amounts of money to enter into crypto. So that's another very important piece of information that came out today. Again, kind of not really reported in the headlines. I would have thought, earnings and rate decisions taking all the headlines. But that was really, really important for crypto, this crypto report that's come out. So yeah, as I say, looking at this, it looks corrective. Looks like it's got every reason to go back up. Here we've got camera pivots. So another reason why I think we've probably found support here, there's a good shout for it at least, not requiring us to make another leg down, is because, as you can see here, the camera pivots for the previous week. So when we're on the 4 hourly time frame, each period here represents a week. So this is the previous week. And as you can see, we managed to rush up towards the end of the last week to finish above the R3. That was a really good finish. And so any move down was very likely to be corrective. And where would you likely find support? Either the S3 or S4. S3 failed. S4, I would argue, has just about clung on because we've seen a very nice wick to the downside here. And it's because of that I think there's a very good shout that we actually find support from off of this significant low here, and it could very well be a completed correction to the downside, a nice 3-wave move down. So time will tell, but I'm not saying I would not put my stop beneath this point. As I say, my stop is way down at 100k. So it's a bigger position. This is not kind of any kind of day trade I'm making here. There's a much bigger play right here. And as I say, I'm more interested in other assets, as in particular Dogecoin. But I'm just going through the very popular Bitcoin chart in this video. So there we have it. The lower time frame outlook, complex correction, waiting for these catalysts to come out. So as I say, the big one was the EU-US trade deal, but also we've got earnings, we've got the crypto report, we've got the Fed interest rates, all of that information. And I think once we start getting the earnings all out, you're going to see the markets rally once more. Okay, so this, as I say, looks very clear to me as a bull flag. And it's just a bit of a waiting game to see when it will terminate. But I expect that continued move to the upside very soon. Now, it's worth mentioning, on our route to our target around 230k, there is the median line of the pitchfork that we do need to overcome. And that could act as a little temporary obstacle. Okay, I'm not saying we're going to get massively rejected there. And I'm not saying it's a take profit level for me either. I just think it's a place where there's a potential for us to maybe consolidate before continuing that further upward move. Okay, so a couple of reasons for that. One, it's the median line of the pitchfork, but more importantly, it's the monthly camera pivots once more. If we just take everything off. In fact, the monthly and weekly both have the same camera pivots. It's better to demonstrate this on the weekly just because it gives a bit more data on the chart. So as you can see, 130k, we've got the R4. Okay, now if I bring back the pitchfork, you can see a bit of confluence roughly between the median line and the R4. So around 130, probably around 132k, we have a potential place where we might find a little bit of resistance. But I do think we could shoot up to that level pretty soon over the month of August. Okay, so that's essentially what I'm looking out for. So as I say, we run through all of these things, not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum. Recently, well, for a long time now, I've been covering Doge also. That's the crypto of greatest interest to me. And we always look at the US indices because the US indices and the fundamentals are so important to follow to kind of time any of these moves. Massively important. So hopefully I've filled in some of the gaps there. Obviously I can't fill it in too much detail. If you did want to go back through my previous video analysis over the last 6 months, you're more than welcome to do so. When you sign up to Cryptology, you get access to all of those past videos. But as I say, first month is entirely free with the discount link in the description of the video. So with that said, I think I'm going to wrap it up, and until the next one, take care guys. Thank you for your attention in watching through to the end of this video. Now I know there's a lot of you watching that would like to learn how to confidently trade the financial markets independently, and I also know how confusing this can be regardless of how many stressful hours that you put in. For that reason, I've put together all of my trading knowledge in a complete course titled The Works. The Works consists of thorough and jargon-free lessons broken down into a comprehensive curriculum, providing you with a holistic understanding of the markets and giving you an accelerated journey to being able to analyze and trade the markets all by yourself. And for those of you that are looking for my weekly detailed video analysis on crypto and stocks, then there's Cryptology, which is a subscription that will also give you access to the Works while subscribed. For more information on what's included in the Works or Cryptology, you can head on over to wave618.com, or alternatively use the links in the description to this video for a limited time 50% discount offer. So I hope to see you on the other side, but in the meantime, if you would like to sample some of my educational videos, then you can check out these videos that you can see on your screen right now. Thanks once again, and until next time, take care.